Democratic Senator from Pennsylvania John Fetterman hit out at Representatives Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar after they assigned blame to Israel for the hospital attack in Gaza, something that was later found to be, there's much conflicting evidence that suggests that that was not the case. Fetterman wrote on X, "It's truly disturbing that members of Congress rushed to blame Israel for the hospital tragedy in Gaza. Who would take the word of a group that just massacred innocent Israeli civilians over our key ally?"
Meanwhile, per National Review's reporter John McCormick, former Democratic Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Minority Whip Hakeem Jeffries refused to call on the two congresswomen to retract their now disputed claims. All this comes as Israel's defense minister told ground troops to be ready to enter the Gaza Strip, though he didn't say when the invasion will start. In a meeting with Israeli infantry soldiers on the Gaza border Thursday, Yoav Gallant urged forces to get organized, be ready for an order to move in. This is according to the Associated Press.
So the latest, I have seen now Representative Omar make a statement acknowledging the new intelligence. I have not yet, I may have missed it. I've not seen anything from Rashida Tlaib, who did also give the speech at the rally yesterday, where she certainly still suggested that she thought it was Israel. We've talked a lot about the hospital today in our first segment, and I had a radar on this subject, so people should check that out. It's interesting to see Fetterman going after them. You have more insights into inner Democratic feuds than I do, but so I don't know if they were maybe never on good terms, but certainly Fetterman was at one point, I think, perceived to be more in the
he was
left
perceived to be a
mode on
But this isn't about
class
his
issues,
terms with them. I'm sorry, it's about how influential AIPAC is as a super PAC within both parties. I think when Bernie Sanders, I think it was maybe in 2016, when he didn't go to AIPAC, it was like the first time a presidential candidate had ever not gone to the AIPAC conference. I mean, the uniformity.
So you're saying Fetterman made that statement because of the support he's received from AIPAC?
No, because nobody wants to get attacked by AIPAC. Nobody wants to have a challenger supported by AIPAC come after them because of their pro-Palestine beliefs. This happened. First of all, it happens repeatedly. AIPAC's track record, we were just reading the statistic, is 98% with candidates they back. They supported the candidate that was running against Nina Turner very famously in the last two cycles in Ohio's 11th district. Someone who Nina Turner was polls showed that she was well slated to win. She was well known. She had been a local official in the past. She had some national prominence from being a co-chair of Bernie's campaign. They found this woman, Shontel Brown, put a ton of money behind her, and she was able to eke it out. At the end of the day, I think the closer race was the one in 2021. Was that 2021? It was in the heat of COVID, is what I remember. Anyway, so they have an incredibly high success rate. We've seen this happen again and again. The Intercept did it.
What does that have to? But what's the AIPAC angle here?
The AIPAC angle is endorsing in any way, not coming out and condemning in the strongest terms pro-Palestinian sentiments gets you a challenge often. This happened with Maxwell Frost. He's also considered to be a progressive, the youngest or the first Gen Z member of Congress down in Florida. His entire career, if you want to call it that, as an activist.
John Fetterman's not up for re-election. You're saying
that
John Fetterman
you will get
primaried 6 years from now?
Yes. Literally, yes.
Okay.
The Intercept and others have covered this extensively. The DMFI, what are you like incredulous now that like corruption and lobbying efforts are successful?
I think Fetterman probably made this statement because he thought Tlaib and Omar had done something wrong and embarrassing, and he wanted to.
If that's what he believes, that is also perfectly possible. But there's a long pattern of people who previously, and I don't actually know what Fetterman has said in the past about Palestine, but people who have previously been not just kind of softly pro-Palestine, but made it a significant part of their personality, like Maxwell Frost down in Florida, who used to have Palestine flags in his social media accounts, attended pro-Palestine rallies, was an activist, like an actual activist, pro-BDS, someone who very much was fighting for the liberation of the Palestinian people. When he ran for office, he basically has admitted to reversing his position because he does not feel like politically it is viable for him to run and win, particularly in Florida, with the positions that he held before. And he gave a string of interviews, including to Ryan Grimm at The Intercept, basically explaining that position. And you only have to look around and see at how successful DMFI has been in this area to understand why politicians would feel that pressure. And there was news in the last couple of weeks, I think also reporting at The Intercept, showing that there was some mobilizing around putting pressure on politicians in the wake of the attack on October 7th. So this is all in the background, I think, as you're trying to figure out why people who you maybe thought were progressive, who maybe would have expected to come down differently on this. Certainly, any number of Congress members have said nothing, right? So the question is, and I think what is in his heart of hearts here, many people have a feeling of opinions. Opinions are like other body parts, everybody has one. But the question is why he feels like he needs to make this very public statement. What is the political advantage of him having done so, especially when it's going to raise questions like, is there a faction, is there discord within the ranks of progressives in Congress?
Well, maybe he thinks there's a political disadvantage for members of the Democratic coalition being so vocal on this issue in a way that opens them up to criticism, as Omar and Tlaib did yesterday when the details got much more complicated.
I mean, there definitely is a political cost. There's an enormous political cost to taking a pro-Palestine position. That isn't indisputable. And
but he didn't chide them for taking a pro-Palestine position. He chided them for jumping on the hospital story
that is true.
And then not saying anything to correct it.
I would also, like I said in your radar segment, I would also caution people not to jump in the other direction, especially what we know about, given the history of Israel lying about its own investigations into its own wrongdoing. So I don't know anything one way or the other. I think most of us don't know. But right now we have an internal Israeli report corroborated by U.S. intelligence. And I think the same skepticism that we applied to Shireen Abu Akleh, the same skepticism that has been applied to the Nord Stream, the investigation of the Nord Stream bombing and all of that.
I mean, I was skeptical at first. You can check my Twitter feed. I had a tweet from very early yesterday morning saying, I can't imagine making any claims one way or the other at this point. It's not very clear. Yeah. Subsequent to me writing that tweet, I think again, the evidence of the video footage I saw, the fact that the impact was actually the parking lot, the time frame of when the alert came in from that the hospital had been struck, all of that again moves the dial to, I think it's likely that it was in fact the Palestinian Jihad group. You're right, it's not 100% proven definitively, and we could learn more information, but I'm confident to say that is more likely based on what I know.
think actually we do have a clip that gets to some of this new reporting that's come out of the last day or so from Channel 4 News that did some of the analysis of the the audio recording that Israel proffered, which it says proves, or at least strongly indicates, that the bomb was not, the explosive was not set off by them. Here you hear Alex Thompson, the reporter who was involved in that investigation, saying several experts that he spoke to confirm Hamas's view to Channel 4 News that the audio tape of Hamas operatives talking about the missile malfunction is a fake. They say tone, syntax, accent, and idiom are absurd. Now, that could just mean that it wasn't the IDF, but that just raised questions as to whether or not why the IDF, why Israel would put forward a fake video if it weren't to cover up
so we played that audio yesterday on the show. Honestly, I was slightly reluctant to do so because I wasn't putting a lot of stock in it necessarily. I don't know that it's accurate. That piece of evidence is not really what is motivating me either way. It's the impact crater, the independent experts suggesting that is more in line with what the Palestinian capabilities are rather than the Israeli capabilities, and then actually seeing the video of the rockets being launched from the Palestinian position and the hospital being hit in the midst of that.
But what's the Palestinian position? Because, again, part of the Channel 4 News investigation was pointing out that when Israel gave the presentation earlier this week explaining why it wasn't them and why it was the Islamist Jihad, the presentation itself included two separate locations for where they say the bomb was launched for. So all I'm saying is that there's a lot of ambiguity.
People were putting a lot of stock in the assertion that the Israeli forces had warned the hospital that it was going to be struck. But now it looks like, again, we don't know, that we could get more information that contradicts some of this. But now what I think even the hospital has said is that they and other hospitals had been warned in recent days about the danger. They were not specifically warned that an Israeli attack was specifically imminent. So that knocks
people
out
are finding that a little dubious as well. So they were warned. The allegation from Israel is that this was a rocket malfunction.
Yeah.
So they knew that a Islamic Jihad rocket was going to malfunction and hit this hospital. I mean, so
I think it was a general warning to vacate the
because
area,
there might be a rocket
and
malfunction.
Just because it was a dangerous area, and then obviously I'm not like saying like what are many people in the hospital can't be moved. Where else are they supposed to go?
Right.
I'm not saying it was a useful warning, but the idea that they were specifically warned that Israel was about to hit the hospital was apparently not true.
Yeah, I'm really interested. I really hope reporters keep doing their jobs and digging into this because people deserve to know what really happened here. We do have some breaking news just this afternoon. Israel's defense minister has promised a ground invasion of Gaza, telling Israeli troops to be ready to see the region, quote, from the inside. According to reporting from antiwar.com, President Biden has backed the ground invasion privately, despite his warnings against civilian casualties. And people should listen to our interview today with Trita Parsi, who talks in some detail about why a ground invasion could be potentially catastrophic, including bringing in American troops into that particular conflict that could really spread far beyond Israel and Palestine.
We will keep following the news as it pertains to this subject, and we'll have more Rising right after this.